Einstein said, no problem can be solved from the same consciousness that created it. So if we want something to change, we have to change our consciousness, right? Or at least at some level, at some logical level, we need to change so that we can get the result we're looking for. When was the last time that you had a different relationship and the same pattern started to show up? Maybe you had a different job and the same pattern started to show up. Maybe you had a diagnosis and then all of those nocebo effects started to show up because you read the safety data sheet from the medication you're taking. And it seems like all those symptoms match. Well, let's take a look at something. Logical levels. How do we really change something if we want something to change? Well, we kind of need to work through some different levels of our consciousness and different sections, if you will, of your life if you want something to change. We all know what's going on in our environment. We can look around and see the results. If we want something to change, we need to ask ourselves, where do I want this change to happen? When do I want it to happen? With whom do I want this change to happen? And what results will I actually produce? Make more money, better job, better relationship. Finally, have the things that you want to have. That's in the environment. That's pretty conscious. We can all see that. That's the outside stuff. But how do we get there? We have to do something to get there. So we have to do something with our behavior to get there. So the behavior is what we do. So if we're not getting the stuff we want in our environment, then we might want to ask ourselves, what do I need to do? I might need to change something in my behavior to get what I want, right? And that comes from our capabilities. Behavior is a result from our actual skills. Imagine that. If we actually don't know how to do the thing, no wonder we're not producing the results. We want to bake the cake, but for some reason we're not adding the baking soda, so we're not getting the cake like it says on the recipe. But everybody else seems to be baking that perfect cake. Well, they must be using the right ratio in the right order and the ingredients, using those skills and having competence because they've used them over and over and produced the same results. So sometimes we need to learn something so that we can do the behavior so we can have what we want. We need to learn something or stop doing an old strategy and learn the new strategy. So sometimes we need to ask ourselves, what do I need to learn so I can do the behavior so I can have what I want? Above that, we might want to look into, if I'm not doing the thing, I might not believe it's even worth it. It wasn't important for grandma to use baking soda because she had an allergy to it. So we don't use that in our recipes in this house. Well, you're not going to bake the same cake as the successful baker down the street. If that's the cake you want, you need to believe that you need to learn to use the recipe properly. And then you can get the cake you want. So sometimes we need to ask ourselves, what must I believe or stop believing? That old belief. And above that is our core values. What values do I need? These are the deep, important beliefs. That's the really deep stuff. That's our core values. We do judge the world through our own core values because it's things that are really important to us. And they might not be important to somebody else. So we need to ask ourselves, what must I believe and what must I value so that I can use the correct strategy and do the behavior and get what I want? Now, above that, we'll act out those beliefs and those values according to who we really think we are. And that's the top of our pyramid, the identity. Who am I? Who do I have to become to get the thing I want? It's as we go through life, we just go from one chapter to the next, and we keep hopefully upgrading as we go through our chapters. If we're working on ourselves and really focused on self-development. If you have a diagnosis, sometimes you'll believe it to a deepest level that that's who you are. You're a cancer patient, you're a diabetic, or whatever it may be. You're an unworthy person because someone told you a long time ago and that turned into your identity. And then you believed it. And it became really important to act it out in your environment. Now we can change that. We see how that is at the top. And as we go further up, it's like a hierarchy of easy change. If we change who we are and become the person we want and just value those things and learn the things and act that way, we get what we want. If we're down there in the environment part and just keep changing environment and willpowering through it, never really changing our skills or our beliefs behind it or really who we deeply know we are, then we're going to be in conflict and never really get what we want. It's not going to be the prettiest cake. So the higher we go, the easier the change. Because we know that the environment is conscious, it's easy to do, but the deeper we go into the unconscious mind, we actually change the identity. So, at what level have you been working to try to change? And at what level do you really need to work to get the results you're looking for in your environment and produce the life you know you deserve? Let me know in the comments. And if you need any help with that, there's links down below for resources. We'll see you in a class or on a call soon. See you next time.